It's basically you're gonna see the price of Ethereum, a huge buying opportunity in Ethereum, which I'm gonna take advantage of. Ching, and it's gonna go from 8,000 probably down to fucking 3Gs.
Well,
And
what if you're on the wrong side of the world, right? What if so? Because that's the other factor people forget about is this is a global market. So you're on the wrong side of the world when whatever happens, that contract gets released, and say they don't, or maybe they'll advertise like a specific day, and everyone will be by their computers ready to sell. For not everyone. A lot of people are going to hold ETH long term, and they obviously they believe in it's a great project. But there's going to be, like you said, people that are 20x up on their money that don't, they're not long term investors, and they're just going to look at this as a chance to sell. And it's like with Celsius, you have your Ether on the sell app. All you're going to do in-app swap, click a button, sell, done. You'll be ahead of the game. If you're on the sell app and you're holding your Ether on there, you'll be ahead of you'll be front running all of this. Just with the in-app click, you'll be faster than you'll be the equivalent of someone that has it on exchange, basically.
Right. So I'll throw my Ethereum into Bitcoin. Bitcoin will probably go up because people are selling into Bitcoin out of their fucking Ethereum, and then I just jump into Bitcoin and Ethereum and just pick up all the Ethereum for cheap.
Yeah, you're gonna increase your
bag. I'll 3x my bag.
Yeah, man, you're gonna increase it a lot, right? Because yeah, we'll be interesting to see what percentage of the overall supply is locked in that contract long term, right?
Right. No, and then here's the game theory on that too. So, like, imagine the price goes from 8,000, boom, crashes at 3. Oh, Ethereum's dumb, it's stupid. All the Ethereum FUD, right? And then Chad's like over here, like all these people on stream will just be like, let's just say you had a couple you had like 100, you had 100 or 200, 300, 1,000 Ethereum, right? And you sold into this is like one of those moves, like Kevin says, where it's like you do like one move a year, if that. Like it's very, very planned out, very timed sort of thing. Like you can do these long-term plays with time if you know what's going on. And obviously not financial advice, but you can move something like 80% or 20% or 30% of your portfolio into Bitcoin, let the pace crash, throw it back into Ethereum, triple up that bag essentially, and just double your bag with a 20 or 30% of your Ethereum being sold into BTC and the price correcting down. And then from there, you've got twice the Ethereum. And then from there, now at this point, you can start staking on the Ethereum blockchain, on the Ethereum, the main chain of Ethereum. But it's going to be I think the way the contract works is there's 3 months, 6 months, 7, 8 months, and 12 months. So then at that point, then you can actually stake your coins because you know when what time frame you're going to be staking your stuff. And here's the other thing too. Because that APY is so high, the APY on Celsius is probably going to go up as well. Because so the APY is going to even be higher on Celsius too. Because a lot of people eventually that APY is going to be people are going to buy up all that cheap Ethereum, stake it out for 3, 5, 6 months, whatever the fuck they stake it for, and it's a teeter-totter. So you have the price crash down, huge wick up, and then it starts evening out. And at that point, since everyone can choose their time frame for when they want to stake their Ethereum on the chain, it chills it out. But then from there, that means that Celsius, because so much Ethereum is going to be locked. I think at that point you could get like 20% of the Ethereum locked up in the contract at that point once you can choose. So then this really makes Ethereum really scarce in the place. So places like Celsius, who have a lot of Ethereum, are just going to be fucking raking in the cash, son. And two, because they can play the sort of game with some of the Ethereum they have there, so they can do a 3-month sort of 3-month in play on the Ethereum, so they can be earning just as much as you guys. Plus, they can be lending it out and stuff and everything like that. So it's insane. Like they're gonna kill it. Am I talking too fast? The guys are saying my brain's moving too fast for my mouth.
Yeah, I think everyone. No, I think these kind of points, right? Like stuff that people might not realize or see, right? Because you're connecting a lot of dots together, and you're very good at that. You're very good at seeing kind of like scenarios, like almost like simulations of like you're running in your mind like a pre-simulation of events and how the market's going to react, and you're very accurate with this and these sorts of things, and it really gives a leg up to somebody who's holding any of these cryptos that that doesn't see it, right? Not everyone's going to see these kind of simulated playing out events. So I think that you add a lot of value in many ways, but that's definitely one of them.
This is just a cool event to like get more Ethereum. This is like the end of the day, like holding holding more Ethereum is kind of the game for this cycle, I think, because I think Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin. It's underperforming, right? Like right now, Ethereum's the buy right now, and what you can do with that Ethereum is buy, sell. It's amazing, or buy, or because this is a celebration stream right here, right? Because like honestly, sell is going to appreciate a lot, but in terms of like the blue chip stuff, in terms of like the actual institutional grade cryptocurrencies, you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. These are like the only four that are actually institutional grade. The biggest deal right now is essentially Ethereum right now. If you just look at the price between here, I'll throw up a screen real quick. When I'm talking, I don't feel tired, which is cool.
Yeah, I know. It's just running on adrenaline here. But one of the things that, after you're done talking about this, there's a guy in the chat that, there's a guy in the chat that had a question that I want to make sure we answer. But we can, but let you finish what you're doing here.
So if you look at the price of Bitcoin, right? So right now it's $8,000 from its last all-time high, right? So it's essentially 86% above the all-time high, the last all-time high. I think my math might be wrong a little bit. I'm like 40 or 30, but you know what I mean. So it's $8,000 from its all-time highs.
All-time highs. If you go on CoinGecko, they do a really good job of displaying the all-time highs and the percentage up or down. But anyways, CoinGecko, it'll show you. I'm pretty sure if you go, you can see there's a place that shows all-time high and then it shows percentage.
All-time high, all-time.
So it'll show it's down from its all-time high now because it's. I think you might have passed it already.
Oh, did I pass it already?
On the right side there. Yeah, somewhere in there. There's it's blurry. I can't see your screen really, but you see all-time high there. Yeah, all-time high, all-time low. It shows look at the all-time low and it shows a percentage increase and then all-time high. But anyways, your point is that basically Bitcoin is above its all-time high.
Pretty fair. It's pretty fairly priced right now, is what I'm trying to say. Or Ethereum's all-time high is $1,400. So Ethereum still needs to 2x just to even catch up to the baseline of it. Like this is how overextended it is. So Ethereum's fair market price, if it was just keeping up with Bitcoin, its fair market price would be $2,100.
Yes, it would be.
So that's why I've been like kind of harping on Lisa, the guys who are like super skittish and shit. Like this is free info right here. Cha-ching. Ethereum's such a fucking steal right now.
It's true. 2000. Yeah. Exactly what you just said is true. If you compared it to where Bitcoin's at, because Bitcoin is up, say the last one was 20,000, it's basically up 100%, or whatever percentage that equals. It's up a lot, right? From past that. So yeah, ETH would be around 2,000 to 2,100 exactly. Yeah, that's correct. So that basically shows you that doesn't mean Bitcoin is necessarily overvalued. It just means that ETH is way undervalued at this point, probably.
Right. Yeah, it's undervalued right now. It's heading up and everything. That's the beauty of it, is because there's very few assets and stuff. So as Ethereum goes up, everything in the ERC20 system goes up just as much. So it's so if you know Ethereum's going to be going up quite a lot, and the main trading pairs of most of these tokens are Ethereum, right? Then you can very easily speculate that the price of Celsius is going to go up, right?
Well, Celsius seems to do well when Bitcoin's running, and Celsius seems to do well when the altcoins are running. Like it doesn't seem to matter. And when then the market's pulling back, Celsius holds its value for the most part, right? So it's kind of like it's rare to have a coin that historically has a proven record of basically not being. It can run regardless of if ETH or Bitcoin's pumping, because a lot of coins only run when ETH is pumping or when the alts are pumping. They don't run when Bitcoin pumps. Like the elite coins are able to run when Bitcoin's moving and when ETH is moving.
Yeah. And it's such a cool. It's a great token to hold and stuff. And to tell you the truth, like it's essentially what we use. It's our gas. It's our oil essentially to buy anything essentially that we really want. Because anything you really do want in terms of altcoins is a fucking outside of the Polkadot stuff that's about to come out pretty soon. But it's pretty much anything you wanted to get is you have to use Ethereum to buy it. So we're right now in the next quarter, we're going to go into the Polkadot bikini girl hype and phase for the next quarter, which is going to be Kusama baby, which is my main boo in the in the Polkadot ecosystem, and then it's going to be Polkadot season and stuff probably in March. So we're going to have the whole first quarter, maybe part into the second quarter is going to be a big Polkadot bonanza / ICO phase in that, and then eventually that'll cool down, and then some of that money will start rolling into Ethereum, and then that's kind of how it kind of goes. But it's all good too, because once we add Polkadot, which is going to be added pretty soon to Celsius, then that it's just kind of amazing how it kind of works. Like Celsius can absorb so much of this energy and then become one of the biggest holders, because the whole point of Celsius is you end up having the most valuable people in crypto. Well, this is one thing projects hadn't noticed and shit. The most important thing in crypto is people. It's crazy. It's like that's such a simple concept, but people don't understand that. And then two, Celsius ended up making a community of the actual backbone of crypto, which are the people, the HODLers, because the HODLers essentially hold the price up. You know, like they're Atlas holding the globe up. That's what the HODLers do. They hold the bags up. They hold the bags and not sell them, and hold the price up and not dump. And then they're the ones that hold the price up. So you end up creating a community. So you end up getting the main HODLers in those communities to be in one platform. So you end up having the most loyal people in a network. And if you help them out and give them the services they want, they're loyal. They start becoming loyal to Celsius, which then you end up just transferring essentially wealth over to Celsius network and this ecosystem. And it just all around makes Celsius even more powerful. This is why I've said this is going to be the central bank of crypto. Like it's the backstop. Like if there's ever an economic downturn, people are going to have to come to Celsius for coins, because there's going to be no other place where there's this much coins to lend out. So this is sort of a conspiracy theory of mine and stuff. So if there ever is a shortfall where these exchanges, because I know these exchanges are running fractional reserve, right? They're going to need to borrow from Celsius.
Celsius is the what do you call that? That's what we saw in the U.S. Banking system in the beginning of beginning of the year. Yeah, but we saw a specific what's it called, where the banks lend between banks, and there was a shortage. There's a word for it.
Yeah, it's the overnight repo market.
Yeah, the repo market. So Celsius is going to be like basically the Fed with the repo market, except they're charging high rates to these exchanges or anyone that's well, I mean, but who's to say Cell even lends coins to them at that point, though, right? Cell's only going to lend coins to the ones that. I mean, the thing is, Cell might not be lending to those guys if they're doing fractional reserve stuff. They might say they're too risky of a lender, so those guys are just going to go under. But anyone that is an exchange or a business that has good practices but is being affected negatively by a crash of the cycle, they're going to have to come to Cell. And Cell is acting like the repo market, where they can charge, like the same banks do. They can charge high rates for overnight lending, because they're going to go out of business unless they get that money. So, like exactly what you said, I think that's going to happen. To a degree, that's going to happen, and it could be more or less than we think. But I think there's a really good chance that what you're saying here is true, and you're seeing this ahead of time. Is because Celsius they're going to hold a lot of Bitcoin. You've said this, and I think a lot of people are seeing this now. I'm watching the Bitcoin. That's why every day I track the Bitcoin on the app, because that number is very important long term for Celsius as a company. Right. To be a huge, because obviously Bitcoin is such a limited supply that whatever companies are able to get the most on their balance sheets or under AUM or whatever, they're going to have a lot of power within the ecosystem to generate yield on that Bitcoin, because there's only going to be so much available, right? And a lot of these treasuries that have Bitcoin on their treasury, a lot of them are just that stuff squirreled away. Like there's as far as like liquid Bitcoin that's able to be lent out, like there's not that many parties to go to at this point. And Celsius is over 50,000 now Bitcoin on the app. So yeah, as we see that go over 100 and over 2, I think exactly what you're saying is going to happen. I think we're going to see Celsius kind of pick the winners and the losers to a degree at the end of the market cycle. Yeah. Federal Reserve of crypto. Yeah.
So those kinds of situations basically just give Celsius a business like deal leverage.
Yeah, exactly.
It's moat because it's the hardest motherfucker in the room.
I think we saw this already, dollar cost. Like we saw this in March, right? Because Celsius was saying, I don't know if you can go back and look at some of Alex's interviews around that time. Celsius was making an absolute killing, and this is with less crypto on their balance sheet back then, way less crypto. In March, when there was that crash, Celsius had record days. I think they said because they were only lending for a short period of time to some of these people, but I think that the interest rate on ETH hit 100%. They were charging an APY of 100% lending out ETH. It might have only been for like 4 or 5 days, But because there was panic in the market at that point, and these big institutions, like these 300 plus institutions they work with, there was definitely situations where these guys have big balance sheets, right? They have billions of dollars, so they're not that risky for Celsius to lend to because of their balance sheets. Maybe they made some mistakes in crypto and they did some things wrong, but Celsius can lend them ETH at 100% for a week. They can patch their holes in their boat because they're a huge boat, right? They're not going to sink, but they have a few holes. So Celsius is like able to go and just, you know, fix a few little holes in this massive boat so it doesn't leak any at all. So it's like, yeah, we saw that in March. I think we saw a preview of that, and this at the end of the cycle, it's going to be 10 times, 100 times bigger. That's also going to be charging like these crazy rates for a few weeks on a bunch of projects, a bunch of coins. Yeah.
Damn, I lost my.
There's a question in the chat though. We can keep going with that, but there's a question in the chat. A guy asked a while ago. I want to make sure we answer it. It was about everyone's thoughts. I'd like to hear Kevin's if he's able to talk as well. To do with Celsius getting into mining and like what we think that. I mean, it's all speculation. Like we don't know, but just our own speculative opinion on what they're planning on doing and how it's going to affect the Cell token price, if at all, or how that'll work.
It's just probably maybe it's just good to. They're just. I mean, the one good thing is that they'll be able to push along or speed up their own transactions to make sure that it's being sped along. So Celsius transactions are going to go a little bit quicker because they'll be able to confirm their own stuff essentially. In terms of coins, I don't think they're really going to get that much off of it. But hey, man, it's just if they can get those virgin Bitcoins, beautiful.
Are you talking about mining, like mining Bitcoin?
They actually partnered with a company, and they said they're partnering with the second largest miner in North America. So it's just another revenue stream, I guess. I'm not sure the exact goals of it, but it could be potentially to get cheaper Bitcoin to put on their balance sheets. For the long term, it could be just a side profit. I'm not sure exactly what all the reasons are, but it's just interesting that Alex mentioned that on the last AMA.
Okay.
It's all around pretty good. Just gets more coins into and it's sort of like speeding up the amount of coins under management and stuff as well, because of that AUM in terms of like how many Bitcoins are going to, like my prediction, the absolute minimum amount of Bitcoin that's going to be on the absolute minimum amount of coins that are going to be on the Celsius app is going to be at least 250,000 Bitcoin. More than likely, I think about 400,000 is more likely in terms of total amount of Bitcoin on the Celsius app. And before this whole thing's over, if this market ends up going into 23, they'll have over 1 million BTC on app and King Kong essentially.
Yeah, so you're saying they're going to hit 200 to 400 by the end of 2022 for sure.
No, 21.
21. Okay. Yeah,
this year.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can see it at the user growth rate. So we're seeing right now, like literally, we exploded on users from 400 to whatever we're at, like almost 2,000 yesterday. So that's a 5x in user growth. If we maintain that, right, we should see an influx of BTC because 40% of all the assets on the app, or 35 to 40% are in BTC. So right. We could start seeing a few hundred BTC a day added to the AUM, right? So that's gonna snowball. And yeah, I think those are realistic numbers. I think we can hit at the end of next year. I think 200 is realistic. I think 400 is possible. But it's a lot. It's a lot of BTC to have on your management. And then, like you said, at the end of the cycle, how much do they have? They have hundreds of thousands. Like, 500,000 to 1 million is not impossible with the growth they're going to have.
No, definitely. I mean, it's a lot of BTC. Gives you more power at a certain point because the price is so much higher. The trickle will be a little bit slower. Obviously, it slows down, but then that's made up for because of all the new users you're getting. So it ends up you end up kind of you're going to keep adding on to it and stuff. So there's going to be very few entities by the end of this bull market that have more Bitcoin than Celsius in terms of like private companies. It's a lot of power, and then two that gives that'll really increase the assets under management. Like one thing that the way I look when I look into investments is something called network effect, and I could tell that this has a network effect. And so imagine you have like a little tiny ball, a little tiny little snowball, and you roll it down a hill covered in snow. As it starts going down the hill, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it goes faster and faster and faster. So it's exactly like we've been talking about when it comes to like the flywheel. The flywheel just keeps going faster and faster and faster. You have Metcalfe's law, and it's essentially like I've been saying this for a while now, but I think around 600,000, like the big number, 600,000 users. Once we hit that point right there, I don't know how much that is. That'll probably put us around 200,000 active wallets. We'll get an explosion in the amount of like downloads on the app. We'll instantly probably go within a month into like 800,000, and then we'll probably go to like 1.2 million. And before this whole bull market's over, I mean, we're gonna have a couple million active wallets on the app, like you had said earlier. So, and it's pretty insane because I think especially the ones who are holding Cell token, like the average wallet size for the person in the Cell app right now is probably like 34 Gs, right?
Damn.
Right now, the average wallet size, last time I checked, was 37,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But that's just because of the appreciation of. That's not just because, but a big part of that is how well Bitcoin's done and how well Ether have done. But even before this pump of Bitcoin, I mean, the average wallet was over 20K. So yeah, people that, like you said before, Celsius attracts the hodler of the hodlers. Like it attracts the guys that are. I think the average intelligence. I don't want to bash other communities, but I think the average intelligence of people on the Cell app, like as far as like intelligence, meaning just in crypto and understanding like long-term investing, it's attracting the best kind of highest quality hodlers. So I think that's another reason why Cell is going to do well during the downturn of the market cycle, is because not only is Cell going to have actual buybacks continuing every week, even if these other cryptos are dropping in value, because Celsius only holds the highest quality assets on the app. Or okay, I shouldn't say they hold more legitimate projects. Like there's stuff on the app tends to do better than the average market, right? They don't hold they don't hold the worst coins. Like they hold anything they can make money on. So anything they can yield on tends to be a better coin. It doesn't mean that every coin on the app is a good investment or every coin on the app Alex believes in, but he's trying to make yield. So essentially, what it means is that the assets on the app can generate yield. So that means they have more institutional demand, which means they're probably going to do better than other coins in general, right? It's all general. So yeah, if you put that together, you could say at the end of this market cycle, right, Celsius is going to basically Celsius. Oh shit, what were we talking about before? I'm losing my train of thought. It was to do with how
Celsius attracts the hodlers of hodlers.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So Celsius attracts the hodlers of hodlers. So at the end of the market cycle, you're going to see way less selling of like Celsius is going to maintain that AUM pretty good. Like, yeah, there'll be some people selling for sure, but they're probably going to sell into stable coins. They're probably not going to leave. What I'm trying to say is the people on the Cell app are probably not going to leave the entire crypto ecosystem like other projects will. You're going to have like people that were in other ecosystems within crypto that will just completely leave crypto. Like you'll have a percentage that will, but I think with the Cell app, you have enough stickiness with the interest every week and people getting in that habit of getting every Monday their interest rates that I don't think you're going to see the AUM of Cell drop as dramatically or even much at all, because people are just going to flip in app between cryptos and assets. They're just going to go into gold. They're going to go into, they're going to click a button and be in a stable coin now. Like there's not really a strong desire for them to just dump all their crypto and get out of the app because they're used to that passive income, right? Like why would you leave that? Once you've had that for 2 years, why would you all of a sudden just like take all your assets off the app? I think we're going to see the retention of users and the retention of AUM be very strong at the end of the market cycle. And we're going to see the Cell token maintain its value. This is my theory. It's not financial advice, but I do think Cell token is going to do extremely well during the downturn because you have, at that point, you could have like literally the whole US is able to earn in 2 years. So you could have 60 to 80% of people earning a Cell token. And basically, even if they flip over to stable coins from Bitcoin or Ethereum, they're still earning in Cell. So Cell token is still, the buybacks are not going to drop as dramatically. And so that price is going to be supported, right? And think of how much money Cell is going to have on their balance sheet. At the end of the market cycle, imagine how much Celsius, the company, is going to have on their balance sheet. They're going to be able to buy up dips. Like if Cell price to the end of the market, they're going to be buying their own tokens, right? Because they always have to pay that interest. It's a buying opportunity for them. So now you have, hundreds of millions of dollars on the on the balance sheet that Cell can buy their own tokens at a discount. So Cell is going to become, in my mind, it's going to become for sure a blue chip in the space, and they're going to do extremely well at the end of the market cycle. That's just my opinion. I mean, it could be wrong, but that's kind of how I see it going. But
trying to I guess extend on that idea, it's kind of it'll be interesting to see the retention, because also I guess another statistic would be out of all the assets under management, what asset has what percentage of the whole, right? And then seeing what coins last through the next bear market, and will they be lasting because of the interest that you're gaining on Celsius, right?
For sure, right? Like right now, it's 50% of all the assets on the app roughly are Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? And then you have, I think, about 10% in stable coins. So you have 60% of the assets on the app are stable coins. It's like 60 to 65. It's basically 2/3 is Bitcoin, stable coins, and Ether. And and Polkadot is going to be a big player in this cycle. And Polkadot and Kusama, they're going to be on the app too, right? You're going to have, Polkadot was supposed to be on the app a while ago. I don't know what's going on, but they should be on the app any week, right? So if they're one of the top 5 coins, that's another good quality coin with that could have a lot of AUM on the app. I mean Polkadot, I'm not sure, because they have other ways you can generate yield outside of Celsius.
I think Polkadot being on the Celsius app, it will be really dependent on the interest that they can provide, right? Because if they can just go to another place where they can get better interest but also less risk, they're more enticed to go there.
Yeah, I don't think everyone that holds Polkadot is going to be holding it on the app. I think there'll be a percentage, right? It's not going to be just like with Ether and Bitcoin. Like you have a lot of people that don't put their Bitcoin on the app because they want to hold it themselves. They want to have it in cold storage. So it's the same with Polkadot. Like you're going to have, a lot of people that stake with Polkadot or do, but it'll be for the like people that are less tech savvy or because I'm not sure what it requires. Like how hard is it to stake your DOT on the Polkadot right now? Is it pretty difficult or pretty easy?
If you want to just go the simple route, it can take an hour. But if you want to go more securing your accounts and everything, if you're trying to do it yourself, it can take about maybe 2 hours or 3 hours if it's your first time, right?
Okay, so but for the average, for the newbie coming into crypto, that would be a bit.
No, I wouldn't advise it. If anything, I would just tell them to put it on Kraken or Celsius if it comes on there. If a newbie were coming in, I would rather have someone help them out in the process of staking it on natively.
Right. Yeah. So Celsius is going to get a percentage of those people that are less tech savvy, and maybe they don't want to be on exchange for whatever reason. They don't want to be on Kraken or whatever, and they'll get some of them. But I was just going to say, anyone in the chat here that has a question or a topic for us to do with Cell or something kind of, it can be anything in crypto really. Any questions would be welcomed as well. I don't have access to respond in the chats. I don't have access to highlight questions or comments or topics, but I'm just kind of seeing if there's anyone that has any questions right now.
Yeah. I guess going back to this bull market and next bear market, it's let's say for example Synthetix, let's say it wasn't even on the app and it died because it wasn't, but what are the chances of people coming back and buying up Synthetix at the bottom to put it right back on the Celsius app? What difference can the Celsius app make for a coin? That's kind of interesting to me.
So you're saying what difference it can make in the project overall just to be on the app? Sorry, I missed exactly what you said there. You're talking about with Synthetix, because they give a pretty high yield on Synthetix, I believe. But sorry, what was your I missed what your point was there. Sorry.
So you're talking about I think earlier about I guess I forgot.
Just to do with HODLing, we were talking about HODLing. We were talking about then we were talking about Polkadot being on the app, right? And just who's going to hold it on the app versus who's going to hold it on the exchanges versus who's going to have it with the Polkadot project or whatever. But yeah, you were saying that how other projects will be affected by being on the app.
What are the chances of a coin surviving through the bear market?
Because they're on the app. You're saying
they're on the app versus not being on the app, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I think pretty much everyone on the app, like most of those projects, I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but I think they're going to fare better than the overall market because, like we talked about before, they have institutions that actually have demand for those coins. So that's one thing, right? If you're on the app, you have institutional demand, in some way, and to varying degrees, right? I mean, EOS is on the app, so let's not read too far into that.
Out of all the assets under management, if we could get a pie chart of what coin holds what percentage of the whole AUM would be nice.
Oh yeah, and they're going to have that. Like the thing is, the desktop version's coming out here in the next month or two. I'm really interested. Like once the desktop version of Celsius comes out, I'm going to be digging into the stats because there's going to be a way more transparency. Like right now, it's hard to get every stat with Celsius. But once we have the desktop and we have, more like Celsius is very transparent. But once you can see it all, like you can see, like you said, the pie chart. Because right now, like I know I keep track of the Bitcoin percentage, but I'm not 100% sure on Ether and stable coins and other cryptos because I think it's very right now it's not very balanced, right? But if you add up all the cryptos on the app, it equals over 90% of the overall market, right? So that's we talked about this before, right? So and I think that's actually growing since the last time that was a couple of months ago that I did the math on that. It was like 89.
Like all the assets on the app are more than 90% of the market.
Yeah, if you combine all the market caps, because the reason why I did that math was because I was thinking like what percentage of the market bull run is Celsius going to capture in AUM? Yeah. They're going to capture it all. They're going to capture 95+% of the bull run. Because all the coins on the app, they're adding more assets all the time, but all the coins on the app are basically higher market cap coins for the most part, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And so they're capturing, like even though they only have say 45 out of the whatever, you could say 200 investable cryptos, right? Like the top 200 are kind of more the investable ones. Like I don't know how many people are going on a third, fourth page of CoinMarketCap anymore. Like, I don't think it's that many people. This isn't 2017 where you can go on the third, fourth page and try to find like the one that's going to pump all the way on the first page. Like we don't really see that anymore, right? So, I mean, maybe there's some. Yeah, it's like penny stocks at this point. Like you're gonna. Anyways, so really, out of the roughly 45 assets on the app, it's capturing 90. At this point, I think it's probably 93% or more of the overall market space. Maybe 95. Okay. So their AUM is going to just shoot up with the market growth. That's the point. Mm-hmm. It's no matter who wins, Celsius captures the value. That's my point. It doesn't matter if ETH pumps or Cell pump, or if Bitcoin pumps. It doesn't matter. Celsius captures that value in their AUM, that all gets put into Cell token. Because if in the end 60 to 80% of those people are earning in Cell, now any appreciation. Right, the increase of Cell price over the last month or so, a big part of this has been because the buybacks have increased. Now the buybacks have increased not because of new users. There's been increase in users, but the reason why the buybacks have gone up is because Bitcoin is run and the overall market's pumped. So it's like with Celsius, you are capturing the Cell token is a leverage. Me and Dollar Cost talked about this. It's a no risk leverage on the overall market growth of crypto. Because basically Cell token is going, because it's a lower cap coin and because it's low liquidity, you're trying to shove all the value of the overall market growth into a low cap coin. Which
that makes sense now. So
think about the value capture, right? So with Cell token, so right now you have getting close to $4 billion in assets on the app, right? So that all that value is trying to be shoved because Celsius siphons off, like I've done the math on this, Celsius siphons off 5.5% of that AUM per year. Because the reason why, okay, so if I'm talking too fast, you just, So basically all the tokens on, I'm going to burn out at some point here if I keep going like this, but all the, it's amazing. You know what's amazing, man? It's pretty amazing. I've been going on, I would say, 25% less sleep for the last couple weeks, but I feel like I have more energy because I think there's something about financial freedom that gives you energy. Like, I think a lot of people that are sluggish in their lifestyle or have low energy,
Right.
like it's a feeling of being trapped and financially. Anyways, it's just a side thing. But I would say, or I'm just going to massively crash here any day. But yeah,
completely like
just on the sell price appreciation, right?
Hey Dax, are you on?
Yeah,
I'm
hey,
here.
Dax.
What's up?
Hey man, how's it
Hi,
going?
guys?
Dax,
Good, man.
Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for hosting this.
What's
Awesome.
in the Cells token community?
Yeah, we're just bouncing all over the place here with different topics. But yeah, we'd love to hear your you talk about. We were talking about ETH earlier. You might have heard. I'm not sure if you were listening or not, but
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sleeping, man.
you're sleeping. Yeah, I think most people are still sleeping. It's pretty early. It's yeah, I guess where are you located?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I just I don't get out of bed until 1 p.m. I'm in the Netherlands.
Right, the Netherlands. Right.
Dax, that's the lifestyle, bro.
But yeah, Planted, I get what you're saying. So like, if the whole market pumps, since sale just hasn't gotten up to that level, it forces the company to pump money into sell, which raises the value of sell up to the point where they don't have to pay as many tokens, right?
Do you want me to explain? Here, I'll explain this in an analogy that everyone will understand. This I just thought of this, and if anyone's in the chat, tell me if this is a good analogy. So imagine you have a massive stream, or sorry, a massive river of water. That is the financial energy of the whole crypto space, right?
Okay.
So you have this massive stream of you could say like it's a huge river, whatever, and then you have a side little stream which is the Celsius the Celsius market cap. So you have this side little stream, and now you're deferring 5% of the overall massive river of value of water. You're deferring 5% of that huge stream, and you're trying to shove it through this little stream on the side. If that makes sense. So you have a huge river, right? You're siphoning off 5% of the water, 5.5% of the water, and you're trying to shove it down a little side stream with that is so small. Imagine the pressure that's going to be created. Say you have whatever it is, you have something, a pipe. You're trying to shove all that water, which is the financial energy of the overall crypto market space, which is 4 billion assets on the app. You're siphoning off 5% of that. And the reason why you're siphoning it off is because that's the average, weighted average. It's the weighted average of all the assets on the app. So if you take all the assets on the app and you do a weighted average, it's 5.5%. So you're siphoning off 5.5% of that AUM a year. Now you're only siphoning off based on what percentage you're earning in Cell token, which is 40% of that stream. But you're siphoning it off, and now you're shoving it through a pipe, which is the small Cell market cap, because it's only sitting at 2 billion or 3 billion. So of course that creates massive pressure on the price, which is what the buybacks are, which is what all this is. So yeah, that's I don't know if that analogy makes sense to everyone, but essentially you can look at it like that: is you're deferring a crazy amount of water in this huge river, and you're trying to push it through a small pipe, which is the Cell market cap. And that creates massive pressure and massive price moves.
Very good. Good.
Which is,
that makes no sense.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
So Dax, earlier we were talking about how with this new proposal for the supply of Ether, what are your thoughts on how that's going to affect price?
Sorry, what proposal? You mean EIP 1559?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, that I cannot wait for that. I think that's the missing puzzle piece, essentially. That's going to introduce deflation.
Ooh.
Hopefully. There's going to be a base fee that's burned, and then like everything you put on top of the base fee is going to be like how gas price works now. So like everyone pays the base fee, and then if the network is congested, you put like a tip on top of it for the validator, and then they choose to like include your transaction first, kind of like how it works now, except a little more fair. But the base fee is always burned. That's the big part. So
yeah, and then so we were also talking about how it's another reason to not be locked into the contract in the actual Ether contract, because this proposal could cause even further price bumps for Ether, and then those guys that stake with the contract, they're locked in, they can't sell those appreciations or whatever, right? Like which can create a dumping event at some point potentially. We're just speculating, obviously, but
yeah, no, I agree. I don't think normal people. I don't even stake. I don't think normal people should stake. It's the people that love Ethereum and that are here for like the coming few years, and they're cool like being illiquid for a while. I'm not, so I don't stake.
So the only one pretty much locking up their coins are ETH maximalists. They're going to hold it for 5 to 10 years.
Or the
basically, which is fine, I think.
Yeah. I think there is going to be some uninformed people that are going to jump in. Like I've seen exchanges already say like, hey, you guys can jump into the Ethereum pool. Which, so it just happens. People just don't know what they're getting into, obviously. But
I think even Celsius on the app, I think Alex did mention that you will have the option to lock up your coins on the app. I think that is something that, and I don't think it'll be for as long as the contract, right? So like I think on the app, you'll have the option to stay liquid and earn a certain percentage. Say you earn 7% by staying liquid on the app, but you have the option to earn 10%, but you have to lock it up for say 6 months or 3 months or a month, just because that way Celsius put a ton of Ether on the contract, right? I think it was like 30,000 or
25.
Okay. So yeah, they put a good amount, right? So if that's locked up for Celsius to kind of maintain their, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here, but to maintain their, whatever you call it, reserves of ETH and stuff, they probably were going to require people. It's kind of like a middle ground is my point. So you can either be completely liquid and earn 7%, or maybe they'll have the option to earn 10% or something like that, but you're kind of semi-liquid, like you're locked up, but you're only locked up for a few months or a month, whereas the contract, you could be locked up forever. But at least if you're on the app, I'm locked up for this specific amount of time. And you're going to get out, you can sell before the contract is my point.
Yeah, probably. I think the way I've heard that it's going to be implemented, it's just going to be 2 separate deposit addresses. If you deposit to one, you're locked up, and if you deposit to the other, you're not. Did you see the staked ETH in the earn and sell tab in the app?
I haven't seen that yet. So I think I'm wrong on that then. So I was thinking that you'd be locked up for a specific amount of time, but you're saying essentially you're just part of the contract where you're locked up indefinitely.
I think so, yeah. It will be a lot of effort for them to like provide liquidity for people to get in and out.
It's less risk for Celsius to make it be a permanent thing, because that's the way. So yeah, that makes sense to me.
I mean, it's not going to be permanent, of course. It'll be
not permanent, but until they launch.
Yep. Hopefully, no more delays.
Hopefully, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I had a question. So, what do you think are like? When do you think there's actually going to be some solutions for some of like the crazy gas fees that are going to be in Ethereum DAX?
I think that's mostly going to come down to whenever the good L2s start launching. I'm waiting for Optimism.io and Matter Labs to release ZK Sync and the OVM, and that will probably help a lot, because Uniswap v3 and the Synthetix platform are both moving over to L2 when that goes live, and it's like 140% or 140 times efficiency improvement. So it's 130 gas to send a transaction instead of 21,000 gas. Quite a big difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. That is in final testing stages, so I think that's going to come out. I was hoping this month, but looks like it's not happening. But, soon.
Yeah, I can't wait till that happens, man, because it's going to be so awesome for Ethereum, because then people start bitching about will stop bitching about gas fees, at least for a while.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be great when we have Uniswap and Synthetix on that same L2, because then they are interoperable, so we can get spot trading and derivative trading on the same like low fee network. You don't have to go in and out to do one or the other. You can just stay in there. That'll be sweet. And then I really hope Celsius and other like centralized entities will accept deposits directly from L2, so you don't have to go like from L1 to L2, then do your trades, go back to L1 to send to Celsius. You should be able to just go from L1 to L2 and then send it from L2 directly to Celsius, and then they can do the off-ramping in bulk if they want.
Right.
That'd be fantastic. Goodbye fees.
Yeah.
If you can just live on L2, then it's perfect.
It's going to be quite interesting. But I think all this will be done this bull market, which is awesome. So this is really good for Ethereum.
Yeah, I hope we will get the infrastructure ready-ish before the next, like, I mean, we're kind of in a bull market, but, you know, not really.
Yeah.
We're not booming yet. So if we can get the infrastructure, if we can get that done, then maybe we won't have another bust. But if we can't get the infrastructure ready, then it's just going to come collapsing down again when the normies realize that they don't want to pay $40 per transaction.
Right. It hurt my friend the other day to pay $18 gas fee. Like, it hurt his soul.
It hurts my soul. I've paid a total of, I think, 9 or 10 ETH in transaction fees in the past year.
Oof.
A lot.
Yeah. That's a lot, dude. Oh man, I don't even want to think about that, man. That's a horrible number to think about.
Yeah, especially in a few years, it'll be pretty disgusting, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, how much money that's going to be? It's like, oh man. You know, there's going to be services where you just link your address and see how much you would have if you never spend on gas. Oh, I don't want to.
Yep,
do that.
that's already there. It's fees.wtf.
Yeah, stay away, Satan. I don't want to even look at that shit. Oh man, that's gonna be terrible. But man, that's you know, we're using Ethereum, but we also have the benefit of being in Ethereum early right now because it's still so affordable for people to even buy an Ethereum in a Synthetix and stuff. Like Synthetix, like right now is like what is it, like $7? That's so cheap for where I think.
Yeah, Synthetix is barely over $1 billion market cap. We're higher than them, which is kind of wild.
Beautiful. I mean, it's just we're so early right now. It's so beautiful. Like right now, we're like since we're so early, like everything just seems like so high priced to us right now. But it's like 6 months from now, we're gonna be like, oh man, I wish I bought more right now.
Yeah, it's because this is our norm, right? People that come into crypto now, they see sell at 5 and they're like, oh, cool, this token is $5 and it's going to 10. Let me buy it. You know, they don't have our perspective. They don't see like a 5-cent shitcoin for the past 2 years that suddenly like got repriced.
Beautiful. Oh, somebody else.
So later on, let's say like a $10,000 ETH, will we still be paying 0.005 ETH or so, or 0.01 ETH?
Sorry, what?
So you know how the gas transactions, they could be like as low as like 0.005 or 0.01 per transaction.
Oh, right.
Is it gonna? I mean, later on, is it still gonna be based on the ETH value or the dollar value?
No, it's always going to be based on ETH value because gas is priced in Play, which is like 1/1,000,000th of an ETH, I think. But the gas price is just going to go down a lot over time as scaling gets resolved. Probably not on L1, but on L2 transactions will be extremely cheap.
Okay.
Hopefully. Again, like we need this infrastructure to just be better. It's like trying to use the internet in 95. It's not going to work out, you know?
Yeah. Because I don't want to be paying like $100, $200 in the ETH. You know. And then, so I guess buying ETH right now, if the scaling solution is installed, near the end of the market, right? Buying ETH now for the exit plan is a good idea. That makes sense.
I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of trouble understanding what you're saying.
So if the gas transactions later on in the bull market are going to just be valued in ETH, right now would be the better time to buy ETH. So you're paying multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get your like transaction through Uniswap or whatever means, you know.
Yeah, that'll be fun times. I'm sure it'll happen, but it all comes back to the infrastructure thing again, right?
Yeah, this is the case if we don't have that infrastructure like solved by then, you know.
Yep, then it'll be fucked and we'll dump all the way back down to like $1. No, not that bad, but I just think that we cannot have a sustained bull run that doesn't stop like all the other ones until we get this figured out, because people are just not willing to pay this much.
I'm gonna hop off a little bit. My back's hurting me.
Hey, Moose, how's it going? Oh, Moose, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I think he's trying to get his connection going.
Sorry, I was over here talking with the mic muted.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Nice one.
for a second I thought my audio was messed up, but yeah.
So what's going on, Moose? What's crack-a-lacking?
I think he's still.
He's figuring it out. How long have you guys been going?
We've been going for 220 already, eh?
220. Oh, you've just started basically.
Yeah, we're just like, this is like the first lap of a.
You poor souls.
Poor souls, I know.
We need guys to be coming on and off here to keep the flow going. But
this is me and Plan B after like 20 hours. Just like,
oh man, we're gonna be. I think I started too strong. I didn't pace myself. I can talk. I mean, I can talk about this stuff for a while, but I mean, 24 hours is pretty intense. But
24 hours is a bit fucking excessive.
Yeah. I think we're trying to compete with those Hex boys, right? It's like, it's
right.
tough. Yeah, it's funny. But hey, you're recording this though, right? You for sure you're recording.
Yeah, it's recording
Okay.
right now.
Just want to make sure. I don't want to be like 18 hours in and you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to record. Easy to
You're gonna
do,
get
right?
some highlights.
Yeah. What's that?
You're gonna get some highlights from the recording and upload, or what is the recording for?
Oh, he's getting everything timestamped, the whole thing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then we can kind of like pick and choose the best ones to post places, I guess. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, so highlights. You're gonna do
Exactly.
Okay,
Highlights,
cool.
yeah.
I think highlights are the best way to get people interested in long form stuff, because everyone is so impatient nowadays, but not. That's the reason I think Joe Rogan and all the podcasts have clips, because you have to like get them interested with a clip, and then they'll go watch the long form stuff. But very few people jump straight into long form stuff.
No, I think that's exactly it. It's very true. Like, how many times have you been going through YouTube where you'll see like a short couple-minute clip of Rogan or some other podcast, and then you're like,
oh, go watch that,
and then you watch the whole thing, right? Or you watch a good chunk of the whole thing. So it works, and I think you're right about that for sure.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a clip out here of like Plan C's hatred for EOS Rant on YouTube.
Yeah, you missed it, Dax. I had a bit of a rant on EOS.
Oh my god,
good,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
How do they fucking manage to raise $4 billion and then get nothing done? What the fuck?
It's insane, man. It's insane. I think and I've been thinking more recently, like for the longest time I was kicking myself for just picking a bad investment, right? But now it's shifted over now that I feel like good investments. Now it's shifted over to anger towards basically the regulators for not basically they should
slap them on the fucking wrist.
They should have gone after them crazy amount, man. When you raise 4, I'm gonna go back into a rant. I got it. Okay,
Do it.
No, I can't rant. I'm gonna get too tired. But yeah, anyways, it's just
I can rant for you. EOS is complete trash.
Yeah, you were gonna say that pretty much the exact point I made earlier, which you're gonna rant in the same way of just how ridiculous the project is. So about how they haven't done anything with their funds. It's just nuts. They put it all in Bitcoin.
It's just unfortunate, really. That's the main thing. It's just sad. It could have been great, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, like when I was holding EOS, when I was starting to finally collect, like I was so new to investing in crypto at the time, but I was starting to click to myself, where does the token value, how does it generate and how does it stay in the token? I was like asking myself on a daily basis, like everyone's saying EOS is going to, do well and it could take over Ethereum, but like, how is it going to actually accrue value to the token and how is it going to keep that value? Because they were talking about like transaction speeds, like crazy stuff, like we're going to whatever. But anyways, it's just,
They didn't even have transaction fees or something.
Or sorry, not transaction fees, just like fast transactions. Like they were so focused on like how fast their transactions were.
No, you didn't say anything about fees. I did. Did they have fees at all? Because there's a few blockchains that are like, we don't have fees.
Yeah, like how is that? How is that a good thing to not have any fees?
It's not. It's
you can't create any value to the token. So like the whole thing with them was
it's not even about value to the token. It's about Sybil resistance and censorship resistance and like spam resistance.
Yeah, and that was the problem with EOS.
You can just DDoS the network.
And that's exactly what was happening. Is EOS was constantly there was a period, and remember, and somehow they spin this to be a good thing. But there's a period of a few months where the network was basically under constant DDoS attacks because people were spamming. And this made it even worse, man. Listen to this, Dax. I don't know if you remember this dollar cost, but with EOS, you could actually borrow more EOS because so the way EOS worked.
Wait, what?
Listen to this. Listen to this. So the way EOS worked is there wasn't a transaction fee, but their model was you had to hold a certain amount of EOS as staked in order to get a certain amount of space on the network to do transactions. So, in other words, instead of a pay as you go, it was a subscription model. So, say I have like 100 EOS or whatever, 1,000 EOS. I reserve my rights for this amount of transactions per day or per month or per year, right? So it's like bandwidth or something you could say. Yeah. So basically, what you had guys that would go and borrow a crap load of EOS. There was a place you could go where you could borrow large amounts of EOS. You could get a large amounts of EOS that you don't actually own, but you have control in your wallet, so that you're paying, and you pay like a small fee on that. So it was a way of creating passive income for people holding EOS. But what it was doing was it was giving people the ability to hold a ton of EOS that they didn't own, so that they could spam the network essentially with their projects. So
absolutely lovely.
It was a disaster, man. Like it was so bad, and there was no like, and like you're saying, like you can't protect against DDoS, you can't protect against spam, and essentially the token's not accruing any value because there's no fees. Like in theory, the idea was if it just blew up and everyone was using EOS, everyone would want to hold EOS to get control of the network to do their transactions for their project. But the problem was they had zero adoption. So there was no reason to hold EOS. It was all speculators. They were speculating and waiting for these projects to come that would hold EOS for their projects. But it's just zero transaction fees is not a good thing, in my opinion. It's not good.
And the game theory of like, let's airdrop and not have no one pay for anything. We'll just airdrop all the tokens to people for holding EOS. So it basically meant that like all the economic energy would just always leave the airdrop tokens into the main token.
Pretty silly, dude.
Dude, it's pretty wrecked.
And it's hard for me, Dax, because I was so heavy in EOS for about a year and a half.
Dude, I was an XRP maximalist for 2 years, bro.
You have to like deprogram.
Wait, what?
Yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's time.
XRP.
I'm serious, man. So you're another guy that from the Cell community and that was into XRP. It seems like there's a lot of whales in the top, top of EOS, or just guys in the project that used to hold XRP. It brought a lot of people in, right? But the thing is, man, like when you hold a project, like you held XRP for 2 years, when you hold a project, it takes a while to like deprogram yourself. It's almost like leaving a cult.
Yeah,
so like with
definitely
EOS,
like leaving a cult. It's exactly like that.
It takes a while to deprogram. So I was programmed for a year and a half through the all the like when you're in the community to a degree, you're in a what do you call it, an echo chamber. So you're getting all this stuff told to you that Ether's bad, Ether sucks, Ether. Like I got a year and a half of program that Ether sucks. Basically, and these are all the reasons why. This is why.
I mean, Ether does kind of suck right now.
Yeah, but I mean, I still haven't looked into Ether enough to really know one way or the other. But the point being, like, it's like I was given a year and a half of basically all the reasons why Ether's not going to be successful, and I need to kind of deprogram myself to like I hold 1 ETH. I just did that for fun, but I basically don't hold any ETH. So. Yeah. Anyways, so you think ETH is not that great, but it's still the best option, essentially?
Yeah. So I think that when you get into crypto, the it's not as obvious that the important things are not what you think they are. Like, you think that it's important, low transaction fees are important, and like throughput is important, and how fast it is important. But like, all of that is B tier stuff. The A tier, really important stuff, is censorship resistance, for example, and like Sybil resistance and actual decentralization, and all of the like the stuff that Satoshi lays out in his white paper. That stuff is important, and then everything else is like, okay, cool, we'll figure it out, but we have to uphold these like pillars of decentralization that Satoshi, laid out for us. And that's just, Ethereum is the only quote unquote all-purpose blockchain that's doing that, and all the other ETH killers are like sacrificing one or more pillars to achieve the perceived important things like speed and transaction fees that new people are attracted to. But then, the really more nuanced stuff, they just forego because it's easier.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, because when I came into crypto, right, I was one of those people. I was looking for the projects that were innovating. I was interested in the tech. I was like, okay, who's going to go to like the fastest speeds, the lowest fees, like the fastest transaction times, the TPS, whatever, right? And that's why I didn't get into Bitcoin early on, because Bitcoin, I thought, oh, this is old tech, like all of the same things that a lot of people think initially. They don't understand the value of store of value. They don't understand like where the big money really wants to go, like where it wants to be secure. It wants to be, like you said, silver resistance. Like all these things are so important. And this is where the value actually goes to. It goes to it's not about this high tech and speed, and it's like network effects. Network effects is the game. Like those are the guys that win. It's the network effects, right? So Ether is essentially, it's just the one category it's doing well in is network effects. Every other category, tech wise or whatever otherwise, it's not that great maybe. But again, you guys know more than me. But it's winning the network effect game. Bitcoin is like miles ahead of anyone in network effects for store of value. It's not even close, right? And like the hash rates and everything, right? So, but initially, like I thought like, oh, EOS could become a store of value. Are you kidding me? So like EOS, yeah. I thought EOS could catch, because there was a debate at first. It was like, oh, is it going to be Bitcoin, or is it going to be a platform that is the store of value, play, or how, like what's going to accrue store of value, right? And I thought, oh, if EOS becomes the dominant platform, maybe people will store their value in EOS and it will become like money. It's like, no, it's not.
Is it fixed supply at least?
It's not even a fixed supply, man. It's got inflation of like 5%. It's just.
I think inflation has a bad name in crypto. Inflation isn't inherently bad.
It's what you do with it, right? It's what you're doing with that, or
it's also who it's distributed to.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, but inflation over a certain level becomes toxic to an ecosystem, I would think.
Definitely, yeah. Especially if it's like distributed, concentrated to a certain amount of people on the top.
Which is what was happening with EOS. So EOS had 5% inflation that was going to the block producers, the 21 block producers.
21 of them.
Which is only 21, which is insane. And then you have, and these guys are essentially just raking in. They're the only ones making money from the project, basically, is those block producers. So, and they're just dumping it all in the market. Like it's like a way worse version of Bitcoin mining, where they're just dumping it all. And anyways, yeah. So let's talk. This isn't the EOS stream. Let's talk about something else. But I think
it's a 24-hour stream. It's an everything stream, man.
It's everything. Yeah, it's everything for sure. So. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Dax, on the? I'd like to hear your thoughts, because we were talking earlier about what Alex announced. Because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. Is the partnering with that mining company in the States, like that second mining company? Like, what's your opinions?
I'm very skeptical because mining right now it's an extremely competitive market to begin with, and there's only like 2 or 3 companies making ASICs. And as soon as they develop a new ASIC, like from the second the first unit is like created, that shit is like turned on until the moment it's sold. So you're kind of like fighting against the house or trading against the house when you're mining. You have to buy expensive ass equipment, and
they have to. So the only way that it makes sense to get in is if you have like some serious connections in the space. Like you'd have to have.
You need serious connections.
Access. You have to be getting the hardware ahead of other people. You have to have like some insane electricity thing. where you're getting like the governments. You need like the government and other corporations essentially like giving you inside track to everything. Because the thing is, I actually saw something yesterday. I saw an article about how there's like a massive waiting list right now for ASICs. Like the most recent models, I think there's a few months of waiting, right? Maybe that's just normal, but like
it's always like that. When a new gen comes out, it's always gone.
Yeah, so the winners are the guys that get that hardware essentially, and who have electricity subsidized by the government or something. That's the only way you can compete. So I don't know what they're doing. I mean, obviously Alex is a smart guy, and he's going to make good moves. So there must be information that we don't have at this point. That's my prediction. Is they're doing, maybe they're involved in mining in a way that we aren't thinking of, and it's a lower risk thing, because to me it doesn't match their mandate. Their mandate is to get returns in the lowest risk way possible, and getting into mining doesn't seem like that would be one, because to me it doesn't really match, right? Sec lending is super low risk. So yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but it just doesn't seem to match for me. That mining seems like a higher risk endeavor than sec lending, so it just doesn't quite match to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I pretty much echo that. I don't really know what the angle is there, but if they want to try, go for it. If it fails, it fails, and they try something else. Yeah,
the only thing I can think of is like maybe they want to just accumulate. They just see how scarce Bitcoin's becoming, and it's like kind of like a mad dash to see who can put Bitcoin on their AUM and their balance sheets between all the competitors, and they're maybe thinking of like future yield that they can generate by having that extra Bitcoin. Lending it out over like course of like 5, 10, 20 years. That's the only thing. Like it's a long play is my point. It's like you're getting the Bitcoin now, like even if you're not making money or losing money, it's a long play, because it's like, because they have that, maybe because I'm completely speculating, but I think they're looking at the overall value of that Bitcoin long term in the lending market, and if they're kind of looking at it not in short term like profitability, like they're looking at long term, kind of like reapplication of those assets and what it will give them over time.
Yeah, maybe something that none of us are considering because this is never talked about. I've heard about it a few times, but clean coins are worth a lot more. If you have Bitcoin that's like directly from the Coinbase with no earlier transactions, then that's worth more than like quote unquote old Bitcoin.
I think that's a very good point. I think what Colby actually talked about that before is like how with a lot of this like dirty coins moving between exchanges and stuff with regulators, like we could see people getting in trouble because they're holding a coin that was that they got in some way through an exchange that was actually
like a specific coin. UTXO that's linked to like a hack or a drug deal.
And now your account's being frozen on an exchange just because you're like you're collateral damage. You're caught in the crossfire. Like you're someone who's just there, like, oh, I just bought this coin, but now your account's frozen because they're freezing a bunch of stuff on chain that's related to that trail. But if you're and institutions don't want to have that problem, right? So you could be correct that part of the mining angle or a percentage of the mining angle is getting those virgin coins, because institutions will pay a premium because of regulations. That is
I don't think it's necessarily even that. It's also that some institutions just don't want to touch anything other than Coinbase coins.
When you say
like coins straight from the Coinbase, not Coinbase the company. Like when you mine a coin, it comes from the Coinbase. That's
okay, I understand. So no, I think that could be. So what that does then, if Celsius holds a pool of those minted we might have just figured it out. Or you might
virgin coins.
You might have just figured it out. Actually, those virgin coins, right? They might have a monopoly somewhat on the lending space with those coins, or a somewhat of a monopoly, because if there's not other,
I know for sure no other lenders have any clean coins.
Exactly. So they can
have no way to get them.
So they can charge a bit of a premium, right? Or even if they don't charge a premium, they just have a monopoly essentially on lending to these specific institutions, and they can just milk that forever. Keep a reasonable whatever. I think you might be.
Like I'm skeptical, but I don't know what they're planning. Like as you said, Mashinsky knows what he's doing, so maybe there's just stuff that we don't see, and maybe it makes sense. But,
no, I think your speculation on that is actually super interesting, and I wouldn't have thought of that, I don't think. And I think that's a very large possibility that I think it's a combination of long-term value of lending out lending out those coins. They want to get them now and get as most Bitcoin under management as possible. So Celsius just put another 600 on a Bitcoin on their I think 500 to 600. Kevin posted in the private chat. They just put like in one day.
They're buying assets, right, for the balance sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so. I mean, I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Just on the app. Like, well, I track daily like the Bitcoin on the app.
Oh, on the app, like deposits.
Yeah, I think that's. I think, and I'm not sure if that's. Yeah, on the app, I guess.
No, that's customer deposits.
Yeah, so customer deposits. So we passed 50,000 not too long ago, but we just jumped up. We just jumped up 500 in one day. We 500 Bitcoin. So we went from around 50,000, I think 300 or 400, and we're up to 50,000 eight something. So yeah, we just jumped in one day. Because the reason why I'm talking about it, Dax, is because earlier in the call, me and Dollar Cost were speculating on how many BTC at the end of market cycle that they're going to have on the app under management, like at the end of whatever market cycle, or at the end of next year, or at the end of 2022, like how many Bitcoin. We were thinking between 200 and 400,000 BTC on the app for the end of next year. And then
for the end of next year, so that's a 5x. That's reasonable, I think.
Yeah. Like I guess low end would be a 4x from where they're at right now, and then and then higher amounts could be 8x or whatever. But yeah, we were speculating the end of 2022. But the thing is, like, just with the user growth, right? Because we're seeing the user growth go from like, I think there's a small echo in the background there. Maybe you have someone has a, anyway. So yeah, just with the user growth, I think it's possible to hit those levels because we're going to see 4 or 5 times the daily users. We already are starting to see that now. So we'll see what happens. But it's just interesting to see a jump of 400, 500 Bitcoin in one day added to the app. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the day that we pass 1% of the BTC supply. That'll be good.
So who else, like, this is the thing, right? Like, we have no idea how many assets like Nexo has, right? Like, do we have any clue how much BlockFi has? Like, no. Is any of this stuff transparent? Like I'm just wondering, because we compare Celsius to Grayscale right now, because that's the only one to compare it to, because there's no transparency with any other lender right now.
Yeah, no, we have no idea. No clue. Officially, anyway.
Because it's hard to know what your competition has, right? Like, how much are they holding, right? It's like, yeah, it's. I just think it just shows that. I guess what I would say is it shows what percentage of the pie that they have based on the rates they're charging, right? Because they're charging. I think Alex has said this before. It's these institutions don't want to deal with people that have small amounts of their asset they need. Like they don't want to go to like 4 lenders to get the amount they need to do whatever they're doing, right?
Yeah, for like one trade.
Yeah, for one trade, it's like, we're going to sign 4 contracts with 4 different people to collect whatever Bitcoin we need to do this one trade. No, they're just going to go to Celsius, pay an extra 2% or 1%. It's like, it's a simple, for them, it's just on every front, it's just less paperwork, less cost, less overhead, less complexity. So like, I didn't get that at first. I'm like, why is Celsius able to charge? I mean, there's lots of reasons why they are able to charge higher rates, but that's definitely one of them. Now I can see that, and I finally kind of understand it now, because I'm really, when you put yourself in the shoes of an institution, right? Then you kind of understand. And because I've been listening to a lot of Michael Saylor over the last few weeks, and so my mindset of being like a person managing large amounts of money is because he talks from that perspective, right? Of like how Bitcoin is going to have more demand once it gets over $1 trillion market cap, just because people can actually move in and out of positions. Like,
it's tiny right now, like absolutely tiny. If someone like Elon or Jeff Bezos wanted to put like a few % of their net worth into it, they can't. They'll pump the market. I mean, they can do it OTC, but you get my point, right? It's just a tiny asset. Silly small. My concern with Bitcoin is it's probably just going to end up being like a centralized custodian thing, like gold, because the chain has no potential at all to like do what it's supposed to do in a decentralized way.
They're afraid to.
So I don't know. I think that used to be like my bear thesis for Bitcoin, that it's just not going to be able to do what people want it to do. And then more recently, I've kind of come around and realized that maybe it doesn't have to, and it can just be a centralized store of value, which is not necessarily a big problem. And then if it wants to be like decentralized, it can just wrap on Ethereum or whatever the winning chain ends up being. Doesn't have to be Ether.
Right.
Yeah, what do you think of this whole wrapped BTC? Because I'm not really too researched on that subject, but like, yeah, we haven't seen. Have we seen a lot? Like, are you surprised or not surprised by the adoption of the wrapped on Ether so far? Is that something that you
not at all?
You're not. You're underwhelmed. Or you're
growing forever. Yeah. No, I'm. It sounds about right. Like, BTC on Bitcoin is like a store of value assets, and you just buy it and you hold it forever and you do nothing. And then when you wrap it on Ethereum, you can suddenly do all the money verbs. You can like borrow against it, and you can trade with it, and you can do this and that, and it just opens up so many more possibilities. I don't really see a way for this to slow down. It's just going to get more and more.
So you're basically saying that you're okay. What you're saying is you're not seeing Bitcoin, like you're seeing the inevitable that it has to all go wrapped, because Bitcoin is not innovating in that realm the way that they need to be at a fast enough pace to keep up with EOS, keep up with Ether.
Yeah, so I used to kind of think that they have to, but I'm kind of coming around, and I feel like they don't really have to. It's fine for Bitcoin.
So basically, Bitcoin should just keep focusing on what it's doing, because everyone, and this is what we're seeing, man. And I think Michael Saylor talks about this quite a bit, actually, is we're seeing all these other corporations, right? Like you have, there's a bunch of them, right? But every corporation that kind of, or company that kind of locks, or in some way locks into the Bitcoin ecosystem, gains value in their company gains value, right? Like Square, for example, like half of their profits right now are coming from crypto transactions, right? It's not just Bitcoin, but a large amount of it is, right? PayPal, same thing. Like their stock's up like crazy. You know, obviously anyone puts Bitcoin on their balance sheet, like their stock's doing pretty well. So we're seeing like different, and even payment rails, like different ways people can kind of like lock into the Bitcoin network for that store of value, I guess you would say, or whatever value Bitcoin brings. But at the end of the day, so Bitcoin is just, it's similar to the internet, man. It really is, because you have like TCP was not that great of a technology.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but it got
network effects, and everyone connected to it, and all the value that was created on the internet, and all the, like, we're still using it, or as far as I understand it. I could be wrong, but like my point is that, like you're saying, right? Bitcoin doesn't need to innovate. It's just like TCP didn't need to innovate, because everyone just connected into it, and that just became the network effect thing. So Bitcoin's going to be wrapped. Bitcoin's going to be over here. We're going to see Bitcoin used on all the different platforms. So Bitcoin at this point doesn't need to really innovate in those ways anymore, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that is not as much of a concern as the block rewards. That's my only concern that I have left about Bitcoin. I used to have loads, but now it's just like, what happens when the block rewards run out, right?
Right.
That concerns me a little bit, because the price will have to double every 4 years forever.
Yeah, but that's right.
But then,
so that can either be a bearish or bullish way of.
Yeah, and then also
because if the price needs to double, that's not a bad thing if you're in an investment where the price.
No, I know, but it can only double so many times, right? You know how this works.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, the numbers get too extra. So it's almost like this forced success. It's like it's the equivalent of saying, if your company doesn't double every 2 years, it's out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine you had a startup company and you had the stipulation in the contract with the company, the banks say, or whatever. If you don't double your profitability every 2 years, you automatically were going to liquidate your company.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin's like that.
It's a little less dramatic like that.
But that's
like, I'm also starting to think that probably in whenever that happens, right? That's going to be in 8 or 16 years or whatever. That's going to be in a long time. Whenever that happens, Bitcoin is probably going to be so valuable that companies like MicroStrategy will just mine, because, if they don't, they're fucked. Like, we won't have altruistic miners, but we'll have people that mine at a loss because Bitcoin is so valuable to them that it's worth it.
That'd be amazing, Dax. Like, I just thought that's an interesting thought as well. Is like you have like S&P 500 companies.
It's like running internet infrastructure. It's not profitable. We do it because we have to.
Right. So you're saying like big companies like MicroStrategy or like those big stocks or the big like S&P type guys, they would be running mining operations just because the Bitcoin is so valuable that they literally need to get every amount of it possible.
Yeah, it'll be like they'll spend maybe like 0.5% or 1% of what their Bitcoin holdings are worth every year to secure those holdings.
I think MicroStrategy is actually no. I think that it's just amazing the what do you call it, the game theory, because that protects it from regulation, right? Like when you have all these massive corporations mining Bitcoin, and actually, you know what? I think you're onto something, because Michael Saylor, actually, now that I think about it, he did mention. I don't know if you already saw this, but he did mention that they're putting some money into security for Bitcoin.
So, in what sense?
In the interview I saw, he did say they're partnering with someone, I believe, to either fund.
That would make sense. They would fund miners.
Yeah, I think it was something with funding. It was something to do with securing the Bitcoin network, and the only thing that makes sense is mining with securing the network.
That's the only way to, or run nodes, but like
so maybe they're going to in some way fund, like, I mean, because they have access to cash, because they have a good balance sheet company. Maybe they're going to borrow money at extremely low interest rate. Who knows, man? I'm speculating, but yeah, basically they're gonna in some way work with or partner with or some way support the network. That's the point. And so if they're at this early stage of being in Bitcoin already looking to, because they have $1 billion in Bitcoin, like they're invested in the network's success to a crazy degree. So what's spending another 10 million, 100 million?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yep.
So what happens when a company, what happens when this is, dude, you've got some interesting stuff. Like, maybe not for everyone listening, but for me it is. But interesting about, because this is the kind of long-term game theory that keeps Bitcoin away from regulators, and it keeps it in a way that protects the network from hacks or whatever. Because if you have, imagine the security, man. You have all these companies that have $10 billion plus on their balance sheet. Imagine how much money they're going to put in every year to helping to support the network. Just because it's like an insurance policy. It's like if they can't directly take an insurance policy on those Bitcoin on their treasury, they have to support the network, because that's the only way they help to support their investments. So I think you're 100% right. I think we're going to see that. We're going to see big companies, big corporations that are going to be setting aside a percentage, almost like, and maybe they're going to profit some way by getting to money or whatever, but they're going to use it as a way to support the network to secure their investments. Yeah,
definitely. And I think another, like, people already pay shitloads for custody, right? Like, it's not cheap. Custodians are never cheap. So if you just, maybe in like 10 years, the Bitcoin network, as we think of it now, maybe then we'll think about it like a custodian. The network is the custodian of the asset. And like, yeah, that costs money, but for companies this size, that's fine. They already spend so much on custody. It's fine if they have to spend a bit of money on securing the network, making sure that the custody of their coins is still safe. And then like normal people like us, we can just wrap it, and because by then I'm assuming that by then we'll have trustless wrapping and everything figured out. So we can just wrap it and do whatever on the.
How does that work then, Jack, with the wrapping of coins, right?
It's a few different ways to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but for either of you guys, like, how does that work from a security standpoint, right? So if I have Bitcoin, which I have some Bitcoin, right? If I were to well, I mean, I have them on Celsius, I'm earning or whatever, but say I wanted to put them on the Ether ecosystem. Now, is the base layer of security still Bitcoin, or is the base layer of security become EOS or fucking EOS?
You're really fucking struggling, huh?
I can't believe I keep doing that. I'm tired. I only slept 4 hours last night. Anyways, right. Ether. It's the E that's getting me. Ether.
Oh, it's actually worse than that. Right now, there's no trustless ways of wrapping. So you're putting the trust not in the Bitcoin or the Ethereum network. You're putting the trust in whatever company wraps it in WBTC's case, BitGo, and in RenBTC's case, the Ren company, because it's not actually decentralized yet; it's fully custodial right now. But something like Ren, like the way it's going to work when it's fully finished, they're still building it. It's like the Ren cryptocurrency is the only use case is to run nodes, and those nodes are basically custodying the private keys on the Bitcoin blockchain. So on the Bitcoin blockchain, you deposit your BTC to an address controlled by the decentralized Ren VM, the nodes, and then they issue you a token on Ethereum. And as long as that like network of nodes is secure and decentralized, then you don't have to trust anyone. So it's just you're moving the custody from one chain to another, basically.
So it's extremely risky, is your point. It's like
yeah,
you're taking
right
on
now,
all the risk. You're taking on all the risk because you're
right now, definitely. But
Yeah,
like
I
my
mean-
argument for in 10 years is that we're gonna have this figured out, and it's gonna be
you're gonna have
risk-free.
you're gonna basically have a risk-free ability to move Bitcoin around in very secure ecosystems and very good custodial companies that are so right now we're not seeing necessarily the level of security you'd want to see to do something like that. But I mean, I guess that's why people are maybe able to generate higher rates right now, because a lot of people are not willing to take the risk of moving their Bitcoin. I mean, I would never do it myself. That's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I
think BitGo is trustworthy enough, right? Like
BitGo, okay.
WBTC is fine. It's
Okay.
BitGo is not going to scam us, but
Oh,
still,
okay,
it's
BitGo,
not
okay.
trustless.
So that one's the best one then, if you're going to do it. It's kind of like stable coins. You almost look at it like stable coins.
It's like WBTC is the USDC of wrap Bitcoin.
Right. And then what would the DAI be?
tBTC, I guess.
Right. And
that's trustless right now, but it doesn't really work.
The tether with the regulators are going to... Yeah, you have the tether too.
I don't know. One of the scammy wrapped ones from the Chinese exchanges.
Right. Yeah, man. So that's interesting, man. I don't... because I start to see these things on CoinMarketCap. Like it must be so confusing for somebody who's like brand new to crypto and they're scrolling through and they're seeing like every type of Bitcoin.
It's like BTC, WBTC,
RenBTC, wrapped
tBTC,
BTC.
HODLing.
They think it's probably like a new BT, like a Bitcoin they can get in early on. They can get in early at like a low.
Hey, at least with these things, they're actually buying the real Bitcoin and not some fucking knockoff.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to think that someone could buy like tBTC or whatever, and they're closer to buying Bitcoin than if they bought like one of the
BCH.
Yeah, one of those ones. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting also, like if once BTC gets wrapped like in all these different ways, that you're going to see like maybe at one point like the top 20 coins, you're going to see like 10 of them in like wrapped BTC.
That is going to be very likely. It's already the case. WBTC is on rank like 11 or something. It's going to be in the top 10 soon.
Yeah. So that further.
So BTC will be in the top 10 twice. Hey.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, right? It kind of solidifies the fact that they're the market leader at that point, I guess. But
yeah, I do think Ethereum will overtake BTC in market cap, but that's like if you're unbiased and really thinking about it logically, gold is a very small part of the overall economy, right? So I think BTC is going to be a fairly small part of the overall crypto.
Yeah,
I think that's reasonable.
This is interesting.
It's not because I hate Bitcoin. It's just I don't see it going any other way.
To think about for sure. No, you're looking at it from I hear what you're saying on that.
Maybe not
I guess
even
I would say
necessarily
this,
Ethereum. I mean, whatever chain ends up being like the actual economic activity chain, it's not going to be
okay.
Bitcoin.
So you're basically saying though that the global economy is massively larger than gold.
Yeah, it is. I mean, derivatives are like 500 trillion, and gold is 7. So